Hi, welcome to We the People Rise. This is Kristen Heemstra, and you are in luck because I have the most interesting person to talk to. His name is Andrew Otazo. And the reason we are talking to him is because he is doing something that anyone can do, but he's doing it. And that's the thing about making change in the world and being a person who wants to contribute is you kind of have to actually do something. You may have great ideas and then just not follow through on them. But Andrew has. So welcome, Andrew.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So, Andrew, why don't you tell us what you are doing? Because I think it's pretty spectacular.
Sure. Let's see. Over the last 8 years, I've removed 38,485 pounds of trash from mostly South Florida's mangrove forests, but also the Everglades, the hardwood hammocks, the back dunes, and the ocean floor.
What got you inspired to do this?
So I grew up here in South Florida, and I just fell in love with the mangroves. They're a
Yeah.
spectacular, just magical environment. And when I was a kid, I'd walk into them and just feel this overriding sense of peace and beauty. And as I got older and I would go into the mangroves, that feeling was replaced with anger
Okay.
and frustration because there was just so much trash that had accumulated in these environments. It's not an exaggeration to say that I couldn't take a single step without stepping
Wow.
on a piece of plastic. It looked like a landfill. And this was trash going all the way back to the 1940s.
Yeah.
And eventually, 8 years ago, I got tired of it and I noticed that nobody else seemed to be doing much about it. So I just started methodically picking up trash and I've been at it ever since.
So you go into the mangroves. They're a place that's magical. It's where you grow up. You are watching the environment that you're in being decimated by
Hmm.
humans, right?
Hmm.
Were you angry at the people who were using them, or what was your feeling about the people who were using the mangroves as a wasteland?
So the thing is, the vast majority of the trash that winds up in the mangroves
Hmm.
doesn't wind up there because people walk in there and dump their trash there. Most of it comes from the tides from the ocean, and that's derived from the city. So what happens is that people will litter on the side of the street, and when it rains, that trash goes directly into the storm gutters and then right out into the ocean. There's no filtration system, and then that winds up in the mangroves. So like, I'm not per se. I mean, like, of course, I don't want anybody to litter, but it's not that I'm angry at the individual so much as I'm upset about the system that we have that allows for all this trash to accumulate and in areas that you don't see. Like,
Right.
whoever, drops a water bottle, whatever, 10 miles inland, it doesn't
Yeah.
probably ever think that it does. So that's really more where my frustration with it at.
No, I love that because it's in you and I prior to the show, just for context, we were talking about the mountains of North Carolina, and Andrew has made pilgrimages up here every year, because we have a lot of camps and it's just a beautiful area. But it is for a lot of people a dumping ground and it seems to be big appliances. I don't know for whatever reason.
Mhm.
But it's either it takes too much effort to get rid of it or they don't know what to do with it. And I think that
Mhm.
so part of my thought is we need a better system, as you were saying, so that stuff doesn't end up there. And you're seeing things washing out into the ocean and then coming, back into the mangroves, which I think of mangroves as having like these huge root systems that go through.
Exactly.
And so they're kind of an interesting microcosm of filtration, right? So they're filtering in some ways, just
Oh
holding
yeah.
to those.
Yeah, for your audience who might not know what mangroves look like or have never seen them, basically they're a coastal ecosystem. They're dominated by a tree called, well, usually it's red mangroves. Those are the ones that are along the shoreline, and they have these big sweeping roots coming out of the trunk, and they look like they're walking on water.
They do.
And those roots hold the soil in place.
Mhm.
So they're the best defense against hurricanes, against large storms. They make sure that they act like a giant sponge. They absorb all that water and all that energy so it doesn't hit our infrastructure. And they also act as a nursery for here in South Florida. 80% of our reef fish have their juvenile stages within the mangrove roots, where these fish are protected from predators. And also, a lot of our coastal birds, whether it's brown pelicans or egrets or herons or whatever, they nest in the canopy. So without the mangroves, like we wouldn't have any viable ecosystem here in South Florida, and our roads or houses, all of our infrastructure would be imperiled.
Did you know all this when you got into it?
No, 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 no. So it's very important that we let your audience know that I am not a scientist. I didn't start my work until I was 30. I've learned this, I guess, on the job
Yeah.
and speaking to a lot of experts and reading up about it and just interacting with a lot of people who have PhDs and know what this is about. And then I pair that up. I am hard pressed to think of someone who has spent more time in the mangroves than me. Yeah, it's been like I've been there at every time of the night and the day. But yes, you can't help but learn while you're in there. It's an incredible, incredible space.
I feel like there'd kind of be some like, I don't know, some conversation between you and nature when you're in there, almost talking to it.
It's interesting that you say that because the nature of my work means that I have to go inch by inch,
Hmm.
like literally on my hands and knees sometimes through the mangroves. And going at that very slow rate and at that level of detail allows me to see so much that I wouldn't otherwise be able to if I were just walking through, for example. Like I have to stop and
Yeah.
I'm looking at the same patch of ground or mud
Yeah.
usually. And like I'm noticing all the different insects and arthropods and fish and birds. And you just have to slow down and take it in.
I love that because it reminds me of any time like I live on the kind of interior, and even if you dig something up, you've got all kinds of, to your point, different things in that little clump of dirt that you dig up. And I
Sure.
imagine that would be more surface in the mangroves. Plus, it's a richer biodiversity, I would imagine,
Absolutely.
because you're kind of in the brackish. The
There's
one,
it's a saltwater ecosystem. So it's just
okay,
on the
so
coast. These trees at high tide can be, inundated 4 feet in, ocean water. So, and that depending on where the low tide, they might be exposed, like the ground might be exposed or not. So it's a saltwater ecosystem.
So, what I want to kind of talk about is your inspiration, what clicked between you going in and just picking up trash and you deciding, like, hold on a minute, this is going to be like my thing. Like,
Hmm.
this is the thing that, because you have to be inspired. Like, anyone could go for a walk and pick up trash, right?
Hmm.
A lot of people do. That's just part of their what they do. But you full on committed. Like you're like, I'm doing this. I'm doing it every day. I'm doing it for hours of a day. I'm going to go into places people don't want to go into. And we'll get to that. But I do want to ask you, did you find a live person one time? Or
No, not a live person. No. Oh, wait, 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 wait. No, I have found many live people in the mangroves. I found a bank robber. And, the thing is about the mangroves, present company included, if you're a person and you're in the mangroves, you're a weirdo. Like, you shouldn't be there. So, like, yeah, if you run into someone in there, there's something off automatically.
oh my goodness. Okay, so talk to me about this commitment that you have.
Yeah, so I'm, the most stubborn person you'll ever meet. And so when I fix my mind to do something, I'm gonna do it. And I won't stop until I decide that's enough. And the thing is, this is a problem that will never end.
Right,
So like I'll probably have to dedicate the rest of my life to this. But the thing is, you mentioned how people incorporate this into their daily lives,
right,
picking up trash on their walks. And that's basically what I'm doing. Like that's just an extension of what I do. The difference is that I took it upon myself to record every single day that I spent out in the mangroves picking up trash. And what that allowed me to do is to educate a larger population, a
mhm,
larger audience about the root causes of this issue. So I didn't just want to make a local difference within these specific mangrove forests, but I wanted to broaden it out to educate people about why they should care about this and what they can do to fix it. And recording it and posting it on social media and doing, interviews with different media outlets that allowed me to do that. So it's really not just a local pickup effort, but it's a public relations campaign that I've been doing for 8 years.
And when you started, was that your goal, or has it evolved?
It was pretty much pretty close to the beginning. I don't know, it was definitely there subconsciously,
Yeah.
but it became definitely that explicitly pretty quickly. And I work in public relations. I have my own agency, so I know something about this. So I just, use my own professional skill set to try to be more effective.
Well, I don't know. It seems to me your inspiration, your passion, and your abilities all kind of really have very nicely collected into this. And I love it when that happens, right?
Mm.
Because that's kind of the goal. Like it would seem to me that you feel pretty purposeful when you wake up in the morning and when you're doing the work that you're doing. And then, in my opinion, it would feel kind of like you would get some type of reward for that.
Yeah, the reward is usually internal. There's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
there's also a lot of downside. I injure myself a lot all the time. And I'm tired. Like it is exhausting.
How many hours a week are you doing this?
I'm doing about once a week, and I can spend anywhere between 5 to 8 hours out there
Okay.
picking up trash. Sometimes more.
Yeah.
Now that it's cooler out here, I could spend the whole day out there.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. And like you said, you're you're going inch by inch.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm taking out, 300, 400, 500 pounds of trash at a time. And that I'm about to hit 40. My body's not what it used to be. So it's definitely having an effect.
Yeah. No, and I wish I could tell you it would get easier when you get older. I'm not gonna lie to you, Andrew, or to
Yeah,
your listeners.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
Have you thought about recruiting other people?
Yeah, so people ask me this question all the time. The thing about the mangroves is they are a very sensitive environment.
Mm,
So I don't want to have 30, 40 people tramping through there because they're going to cause damage. My first rule always is do no harm. So I minimize my impact on this environment by going in there, usually by myself. Sometimes I'll bring one or maybe two friends in who know what they're doing so that, they're not breaking seedlings and saplings and like breaking roots and branches and stuff like that. Also, the mangroves are a very dangerous environment. So like you will get injured. It's gonna happen. So like if I bring 30, 40 people there, someone's gonna get hurt. Like I'd rather that person be me or, bring in someone who's more experienced, who's less likely to get hurt than have, I don't know, a 16-year-old, twist an ankle or something.
what is the most common injury that you see in the mangroves?
Oh man, all sorts of lacerations, like cuts and stuff like that. That's very common. Pulling muscles, in your abdomen, in your back, in your neck, your shoulders, all the time. The most dangerous thing is the sun, is the heat.
Mm.
It gets in the summer. I need to be out of there by 11 a.m. or I will die. Heat stroke. Heat stroke is the biggest danger out there for sure. And I've been very close to it. And the thing is, this happens every time. I bring in someone new and I'm like, drink water, pace yourself. They're like, no, I'm fine. And inevitably they pass out. Like it's happened so many times.
I wonder you don't want anyone else in there.
Yeah, like I have enough trouble carrying out, hundreds of pounds of trash. I don't need to carry out hundreds of pounds of person too.
Right. Do you see, I'm always curious about like the pythons in the mangroves
Uh,
and in the Everglades and all that kind
yeah.
of stuff. Are you seeing their impact?
So the Burmese pythons are all over the Everglades. So I don't really, I have worked in the Everglades before,
Right.
but I mostly work in mangrove swamps, which are along the coastline. So like what they've done is that they've eaten most of the small mammals in the Everglades. So like the raccoons, the rabbits, that scale of prey animal. I don't see them in the mangroves at all. They can't really survive in there.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and like honestly, there isn't a lot of poisonous stuff in there. Florida has three poisonous spiders, and we have five poisonous snakes, and none of them are really in the mangroves. There are crocodiles. People always ask me about gators. Gators are freshwater animals, so they're not in the Everglades. Or excuse me, they're not in the mangroves. We do
Yeah.
have we do have crocodiles, and they're fine. They're just giant lizards. you're
They're
not on
giant
the menu.
lizards that could eat you, Andrew. So
Yeah,
yes.
but the thing is, they're not interested in eating you. There's like one or two recorded instances of someone being killed by a crocodile in the state of Florida. Like, unless you're really trying, you're
Yeah.
not gonna get hurt by a crocodile.
Unless you're like running in front of it and jumping in front of it, you don't
Yeah,
get eaten
yeah,
by
yeah. That's actually literally what happened. Like, a guy and his buddy went out to the Everglades, shot a crocodile. The guy sat on the crocodile for his buddy to take a picture, and then the crocodile wasn't dead and turned around and killed him. That's what happened.
That is really just, yeah, Darwinism
Hmm.
at its finest.
Peak Florida. Yeah.
So, We the People Rise, just for context, is about the people rising to take control, rising to take responsibility, rising up to really bring their power into the country as a whole. And the idea is that, leaders can do so much, but we as individuals need to be leaders as well around things that we feel are important, around things that we would
Mhm.
like to see. What are some pieces of advice you would have for somebody,
Yeah, we discussed this at the beginning, which is like, you don't need a PhD.
right?
You don't need to be a lifelong activist to come up with this. Like, I was not involved in any activism until I was 30. And there's always something you can do in your local, your neighborhood, in your city, in your town, whatever. And here's the thing. We grew up, I feel like, with this expectation that in order to make positive change, you have to be like the metaphorical Marvel superhero that like
Mhm.
flies in the middle of the city and beats up the monster or alien or whatever is attacking it, and then like over the span of an afternoon and fly back out and everyone's happy and you save the city. That's not how change happens.
No.
Change is so much more boring. It's incremental. It happens over years. I picked up almost 40,000 pounds of trash, right? Over 8 years. But every single day, 8 million pounds of trash fall into the ocean. So, like, I can't ever personally defeat the issue of global marine trash. What I can do is that I can fix that issue in a 5 by 5 square foot area. And then I can go to the next one and the next one and the next one. And then after, years of doing this, I picked up square miles and I've been able to educate so many more people. That's real change. Real change is just sticking around and doing hard things for a long period of time. That's all you need to do. You don't need to be anything special to do that.
I love that. It changes persistence and resiliency and, being, and also, let's just be honest, you're getting hurt all the time and you're still
Oh
showing
yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Like,
but like you don't like, I'm an extreme example. You don't need
are-
to do something at the scale that I'm doing. You
no,
can do it in your neighborhood. You can do
yeah,
it around you. Yeah.
yeah. No, absolutely. And I'm just thinking, we have a little food pantry by where I live. And by the time, if you every time you walk and you're walking a couple times a week, if you just bring a can or a couple cans and just put it in that food pantry, which is always being used, by,
Hmm.
8 years later, you'll have given away who knows how much food.
Exactly. And that makes a real meaningful difference to the people who need it.
Yeah. No, I love that. Where else have you seen positive changes? I know your area of expertise is the mangroves, maybe not even environmental, but where else have you spotted kind of like-minded people to you doing these things?
Yeah, so it's really weird. So basically, right around the time I started, all these other people started like independently. I don't know what was in the
Yeah,
water. And so like, I'm just one small part of a much bigger movement here in South
yeah,
Florida. Yeah, there's so many other people that are doing this same thing. There's all these organizations, all these nonprofits, all these individuals who will go into these environments and pick up trash. So I feel like there's a much bigger groundswell of support for this. And at the same time, I feel like more of my, neighbors across Miami are more cognizant of the scale and the importance of this problem. And the really nice thing is especially nowadays where everything is political. This is not political at all. Yeah,
Right.
nobody wants more trash in the mangroves. No one's like, you know what we need? Extra trash.
Right.
We should throw more trash in the ocean. Nobody's thinking like that. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you are, and it's really nice. That's a really nice change of pace.
Well, it is, and I want to get back to something you said, and I'm going to tell a story here in a minute, but the best way to stop this is prevention, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so back, I want to say it was the 80s, Texas had a huge problem with litter. Are you familiar with this story?
No,
So,
I'm not.
yeah, no, it's fascinating. Texas had a huge problem with litter along the highways. And
Mm,
it was costing their Department of Transportation millions and millions of dollars to pick up the trash that people were just throwing out their window as they were driving by. So
mm,
they did a profile and they found out that the person who was most likely to just chuck their, fast food thing out the window, it was like a male between, I'll say 18 and 35 or 40 or something like that. And so they identified, that was kind of their target because they were really looking at the preventive side. And they worked on messaging to figure out what was going to land the most to prevent, they're trying to prevent the trash from coming out. And you know what slogan they ended up going with?
what?
Don't mess with Texas.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is
I
where that
love that.
came from. Yeah. That they found that really tapped into like, oh yeah, you don't mess with my state, you don't mess with it. Like whatever needed to be tapped into, they did. And they saw, and I'm going to get my numbers, they're not completely right, but it was like a 70% change in behavior of littering. It was one of the most successful marketing campaigns ever in terms of changing behavior. So I always find that interesting. And that's, I don't know, you can't really do don't mess with Florida, but
Yeah, but I got don't mess with Texas. I love that. I'm a communications, professional, and that's the thing. I work with a lot of scientists and with a lot of activists who really know their stuff, who really know the root causes of these issues, but they're not good at talking to they're just regular people about why they should care. So so much of what I do professionally is taking what seems like really boring or really like complicated or esoteric issues and boiling them down and making them compelling and interesting and funny so that people can understand them and want to take action. That's my favorite thing. That's what I love to do, more than anything else.
well, and that's a gift, right? That's a
Mm,
gift because and what made this campaign so interesting with Texas is that it wasn't the scientists, it wasn't the amount that was being spent by the government, it wasn't saving on taxpayer dollars. None of it was like
mm,
landing the same way, basically going in through the ego or, basically
yeah,
going in through that pride piece of, oh yeah, you're not going to mess with me kind of a thing,
yeah.
which is fascinating because they tried the messaging all those other ways.
Hmm.
So,
That's
yeah,
really
no,
cool.
you do. You have a very interesting job there. Is there any final thoughts you would like to share with us?
I don't want people to walk into the mangroves or a saltwater marsh or a forest or a desert or wherever they happen to live and try to pick up thousands of pounds of trash on their own. That is not what I want them to do. I want them to pick up the proverbial water bottle in the traffic median, or the literal one, I should say, because, it is so much easier to do that in an urban setting than it is to do it, trust me, knee deep in the mangroves. And if you have, thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people doing that, picking up 1 pound of trash a day, that blows out of the water anything that I can do over years. So
Yeah.
I'd much rather people do that.
Well, and to your point, and listeners may not be thinking about this, but every water system feeds into a larger water system. And I
Exactly.
know we're taught that in like, second or third grade or whatever, but as an adult, you really see it. Like the creek behind your house is going to feed into a different tributary and they're all going to end up in the ocean at some time. And, and if Andrew doesn't get to him, that Nancy water bottle or whatever that you see right there that you don't pick up is going to end up somewhere. The water is going to carry it somewhere. And maybe picking up trash isn't your jam. Maybe it's something completely different. And that's what inspires you. What I love about your story, Andrew, is it's so organic. Everybody's got their own organic story, right? For you, it was just your passion was hanging out in the mangroves and hanging out outside. And then you started to notice the trash, and then you started to pick up the trash, and then it just has kind of escalated into 40,000 pounds of trash that is that about right?
Yeah, yeah, almost 40,000
40,000. So do you weigh your trash every time you come back?
every single time. Yes, I
That's
needed to put.
awesome.
The thing is, I needed to put a number to it so people understood the
Right.
scale, and the easiest way to do that is just to do the pound,
Yeah.
like, and that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. No, and I like that you had a loose plan going forward. It's a simple plan. Pick up trash, weigh it, take pictures,
Mhm.
and make that, a social media type thing. And that's how I found you as I was reading about you. You
Mhm.
popped up, I think, on my Facebook feed.
Yeah, it's wild.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much with your time. And is there any way you want people to follow you on social media? Do you have
Yeah,
any?
people can just find me on Instagram.
Okay.
My handle is just Andrew Otazo, Otazo. So, one word. So if they want to follow me, they're more than welcome to do that.
Fantastic. All right. And I'll put that up, the link as well. So
Great. That's
thank
awesome.
you, Andrew.
Thank you so much.